Did you ever have a wood shop class in high school, or have you ever worked on any kind of wood or carpentry where you kind of have to make designs and sculpt designs into like a table or a chair or whatever? Hardships can be like this in the sense that your character, meaning the chair or the table or whatever, is what it is, and hardships are the thing that makes these unique designs in a way that provides the sense of beauty to the actual piece that is the architecture. And in this case, the architecture that you are going to be is your soul. And hardships have this miraculous ability to sculpt and refine a lot of these modes of hardships into something beautiful. And resilience in of itself is something that many people believe that it can be borrowed, or it can be something that can cause you to be motivated. I don't really believe in motivation. I think motivation is something like a credit card for your soul, and you can take out a certain amount of motivation money per se, or motivation currency, onto that credit card that is the motivation card, but you're going to have to pay it back with something or someone or somehow in other ways. It's rather more important to be inspired. And today I'm feeling like causing some trouble for the devil because, well, I just kind of, I've been tested a lot recently. And in my dreams, especially over the last week, ever since we had the Path of the Golden Lion free event about a week or so ago, I've had nothing but spiritual attacks literally every single night. And last night, I had a dream where I was on a beach, and there was this beach house, and this beach house was mine. And there was this huge anaconda snake that was there too. I'm talking like this big around in circumference, and it just, just went on for a while. And it somehow got in the house, and it was able to get in through the fireplace. And it was hiding in the fireplace. And so I had to wrestle with it and snap its jaws open and kill it that way. And I was able to do so, but it was at great cost and it was at great peril. And the resilience that I had to take was almost taking a toll on me. And to be quite honest with you guys, oh man, I've been tired. I've been tired. And I'm not complaining. I'm not upset about it. I'm tired of it kind of reminds me of the Green Mile. Anybody seen the Green Mile where he's like, I'm tired of people being ugly to one another? That's exactly how it feels, man. I'm tired of seeing people be ugly to one another. I'm tired of feeling like, a lonely crane, flying through the wind and in the rain and just trying to find its place and really not finding any place. Never really feeling like there's a home anywhere except for right here. And of course, that is the home that really matters at the end of the day. But man, having a home somewhere would be really nice. And I have a feeling, this strange feeling that I'm going to die with this sense of obscurity that many people will not know me. Many people will not hear me until after my time has come to an end on this planet. And this is a very, I guess, auspicious moment for me, because it's helping me realize, like, okay, I have to live up to my own insanity to some degree. I have to live up to these terrors of life, and I have to live up to these things of greatness. And I'm definitely content in my life, but I know that I'm always going to be able to improve And I'm not saying that I'm right about everything, but man, when I look around, I don't know how some people don't see the things that I see. And I feel like I'm the one that's fighting this monster all the time. Like I'm fighting all these monsters all the time. And I don't even tell you guys the kinds of things that I go through on a day-to-day basis in prayer, and with my visions that I have every night, practically every night. Not every night, but it's usually about 5 or 6 nights a week. And not all of them are as long as the visions that I have in my book here, because this was the creme de la creme of all my visions that I documented, and I still document all my visions. But like the shamans. How do I describe this? The shamans, if anybody's not familiar with shamanism, the shamans, they believed that when they went into the spiritual world, the upper world and the lower world, they called it. You can think about it as a world of heavenliness or a world of hellishness, and that's where the demons live and where the angels are. Or like the good spirits and the negative spirits, per se. And, when I do go into these visions, into what I call the mystical beyond, and I am fighting these demons, or I'm confronting these demons, I get the sense that I'm bringing back parts of people's souls as well. And this is exactly what shamanism talks a lot about. In fact, if anybody's never read this book on shamanism by Mircea Eliade, very, very fascinating book on shamanism. And I don't practice it from a pagan perspective, of course. And I know a lot of people will, a lot of this will just go over people's heads, but that's okay. This kind of message isn't for you. This kind of message is for the people that are wanting to confront their demons and wanting to learn more of the deep side, because that's what a lot of people have been talking about recently in my YouTube videos, that they want the deeper stuff and they want more of a deeper sense of the deeper side of relationships, of fighting angels and demons and spiritual warfare, of God in general, these dark places and these deeply spiritual domains that are actually not so deep. That's the thing that I think a lot of people misinterpret about the spiritual domain in of itself, is that it's really not that deep. It's only that deep, quote unquote, because people are so disconnected from their souls. I mean, remember Adam and Eve, they just knew God. They didn't have to wonder or believe. They just, yeah, I know God. Yeah, God's definitely there. Like, they just knew God. They didn't have to have faith or believe. They just knew it. And I think that that's when you get to a certain point on the journey, whatever part of that journey it is for you, it's there's the sense of just knowingness. There's not really the sense of belief anymore. It's just a knowing that something can come of this. And just like faith, of course, yes, is going to be important, but it's also a sense of knowing that God's got you. No matter what, God's will is going to be in accordance to whatever's going to happen. And God's will has already been kind of, not even kind of, it's already been willed. And what God wants to happen will happen. And you might be defiant, you might be rebellious, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be any good for you. In fact, you might be putting yourself at a hindrance. You might be self-sabotaging and not even knowing it. And so, in my visions and in my dreams, I'm fighting these monsters, and I have to be mindful of myself, because I do have to give myself these times where I need to rest and recover. And a lot of what I go through in my own life is what I get inspiration from to do videos about, and it's just things that happen or things that are going on. And that's what I do. I co-create with people as well. The people from my Godlike Master Initiation program, or my one-on-ones, or the community that we have, the Regal Change Academy. I get co-inspiration almost, and it's not like living vicariously through these people at all. It's a co-creation. And of course, there is one creator That's God himself, of course. But we are, in a sense, the co-creation. I mean, we are God's creation acting, unacting. If that, I hope that makes sense for people. Sometimes I say things and I wonder if this is landing properly. And I think for the right people it will land properly, but for some people it might seem like a paradox. But to that I say, if the closer you are to paradoxes, usually the closer you are to the truth. And the Eastern religions call this duality, right? And I don't really use that term too much or too often, but I do think that the closer you are to paradoxes, the more into the truth you truly are sometimes, because life itself is a paradox. I mean, you can't really have life without death, and you can't really have death without life. And yet, one or the other, and it's not really conducive toward a proper state of being, apart from everlasting life in Christ. But in these types of visions and things where I'm fighting these monsters and I'm seeing these things, like even the other night, I had this brilliant vision afterward of someone I was doing a one-on-one consultation call with and a session with. And I had this vision of this brilliant flaming cross, shooting down from the sky heroically over the horizon. And the cross just landed right in front of me, and it was just radiating this brilliant light. And it was interesting because it seemed like there was some kind of message to be had for the person that I had the session with, but also it was seemingly had for the general collective consciousness at large. It was as if there were so many people that were needing to see the glory of God shining through us, because the glory of God does shine through us. The glory of God does shine in accordance to however God sees fit. And it's not about us. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about God's glory, and it's about making sure that we are going to fight those monsters. We're going to fight the demons. And whoa, I just had like this revelation with the serpent spirit. Well, anybody that's not familiar with the serpent spirit, I would highly recommend doing some research with the serpent spirit in the Bible. In the book of Acts, I believe, is where it first talks about the serpent spirit. But essentially what the serpent spirit does, it's the python spirit specifically. But I was just thinking about how in my dream, where it's the anaconda, it's not a python, but it is an anaconda, and it's still a snake, and I had to snap the jaws. Like, what does that mean exactly? Why did I have to snap the jaws? Why couldn't I, chop it up or strangle it? Or because I didn't have any weapons in the dream. I didn't have my weapons. All that I had was my bare hands. And I was just, kind of like a caveman, I suppose, which is, kind of like King Kong or something with the dinosaurs. You guys ever seen that movie? Like the King Kong from 2003 or 5 or whatever it was. I remember Jack Black was in it. I never took Jack Black to be like a serious actor, but he was always more of a comedian, right? Still is, I suppose. But yeah, in King Kong, where King Kong like snaps the dinosaurs' jaws, that's kind of what I did with the anaconda snake. And I was wondering, just now, I wonder what exactly the analytics of that would be, because dreams are the birthplace of reality. And this is something that I learned just from documenting my dreams and seeing how the internal images of the dream and the contents of the dream are going to be the internal reflection of the external world. And sometimes, because you can kind of see around corners, or you can almost prophesy certain things in dreams and visions as well. Like I have had, I went back and I reread some of these visions that I've had, because I just published this book in August. And although I've read like little excerpts in my YouTube videos and such, I haven't really fully read like a chapter or anything since I published it. And last week I read, a chapter for the first time, and I read like a chapter, and I was pleasantly surprised about how inspired I was by my own work. And I thought to myself, holy crap, this is because the piece that I was reading, it was so fascinating because it felt as if I was reading something that my soul knew that I would need in the moment that I was reading it. And yet, even for my past self, my past self did not realize, rather, that my future self, who is now my present self, would need that. And yet, there it was. And so, what that tells me is that there's this like simplicity of it. Because anytime there's a piece of truth, like, okay, you've ever, like, for example, if you read the Proverbs, which is one of my favorite books in the Bible. And I always recommend, if you've never started reading the Bible, the Proverbs is usually a good place to start, and the Corinthians is also another good place to start, because they both kind of set the tone of the Bible in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it gives you a lot of like, just, solid practical works and principles to work through, because it is simply a fact that if you live in accordance to what the Bible says and the principles of the Bible, your life gets better. Okay, it's just that simple. So, I mean, you can pick anywhere in here. Okay, I just picked this. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Okay, so that's Proverbs 16, verse 25, by the way. Now, look, I can read that, and I can read it again, and I can get like 2 or 3 new ideas just from that one verse, right? And anytime there's a piece of truth, because truth in of itself is timeless, anytime there's a piece of truth, that's going to allow you to come back to it again and again and again and still learn something from it, because you're coming at it from a new perspective. You're coming at it from a different domain. And I think that that's very important. I think that there's something very beautiful, and there's something about that to revere, just with the words in of itself, because also in the book of John, it starts out, the Word was with God, and God, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and God was the Word. Okay, so what exactly does that mean? It means that language in of itself is it's like language itself is God. And so when we have a simple truth, because this is like a portal, books are portals, and the Bible is a living document. I think any form of truth is a living document if it's put into a book, for example, and there's nothing but truth in the book. It is a living document. And I think, and this is one of the reasons I'm very pleased, because every writer would love to be able to go back to their works and their published works and be like, okay, yeah, this is great. I'm glad that I'm here. I'm glad that this is something that I can be looking back on and see that there's something of utility here for not even anybody else, but especially for myself, because ultimately the book was for me, but it was also just for anybody that would want to read it and would be curious about it and to want to explore the depths of consciousness, because I find the superfluousness of life in our day and age to be so confining. We're stuck in a prison and we don't even realize it. We're stuck in these loops of time and we don't even realize it. We have the fiat currency that is just choking us to death. I mean, isn't it so strange that if you owe me money, like I'm worth that amount that you owe me, right? That's the way that the fiat system with debt works, right? Like that's the way that the system works. And it's all just a fugazi, it's all like there's nothing tangible or real about it. That's one of the reasons why silver or gold or Bitcoin, for example, these things will not change. Okay, once you have 1 ounce of silver, once you have 1 ounce of gold, that's always going to be 1 ounce of silver. That's always going to be 1 ounce of gold. .001 Bitcoin is always going to be .001 Bitcoin. It's just what it is. And yeah, the value of it in fiat terms may go up and down, but 1 ounce of silver is always going to be 1 ounce of silver, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that that's what truth does to us as well. Like, there's something truthful. Like, the truth is going to be the truth, and it's always going to be the truth. But how we perceive it and the value of it's going to inflate or deflate in time. And, or rather, maybe not inflate or deflate, but rather increase or decrease with time. So, you know, there's something to be said for this kind of thing. And there's something to be said for understanding the true oppression that we're in, because we've sacrificed ambition, we've sacrificed peace, we've sacrificed a lot of different kinds of things, even our own grief to some degree, all for the sake of comfort. And I would not like to live in comfort anymore. Like, of course, there's going to be needing a time to rest, right? Like I've talked about just earlier. Sometimes you need to rest, sometimes you need to recover. Of course, you need to chill out sometimes, bro. But ultimately, at the end of the day, as well, you need to experience the totality of life and of itself. Experience that. And that's where, you know, we have not even scratched the surface of what the human body or mind or soul is truly capable of in this existence. I mean, think about Alexander the Great. Okay, by the time the guy was like 32 or whatever, not even 32, he conquered like half the world. Okay, what have you done by the age of 32? Like, I'm looking at my stuff right now, and I'm looking at the way that I've lived, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I would want to do more. And in fact, I do want to do more. However, it's like, have you ever seen Tron? The Tron Legacy with, oh man, I can't remember his name. Jeff Bridges. Yeah, Jeff Bridges, the newer one. It's the newer one from like 2012 or something. And his son comes into the game right after, you know, Flynn has been, who's Jeff Bridges' character, right? He's been in there for 20 years or whatever, and his son comes into the game trying to save his dad. And his dad, like, you know, there's like this whole, it's a whole story, of course, but like there's this whole thing where he can't really go back into the city, because if he does, then he's gonna, you know, basically give himself over to the bad guys of who've taken over the city of in that Tron Legacy. I don't know what exactly it's called. The Grid, I think, is the name of the city, the Grid. But anyway, and he tells his son, he says, the only way to win this game is to not play. And it's interesting because it's, in the end, it's kind of true. The only way that he can win that game is to just not play. And that's sometimes how it seems like it is in this world that we live in. We're so oppressed, and yet we're so comfortable. We don't even realize our oppression. And that's a trip. Because sometimes I feel like I'm a lion in a zoo, like this concrete zoo, where I'm just too old to feel this young, and I'm too young to feel this old. Like, this is something I've been feeling very deeply recently. So I think I've said everything that I wanted to say, and I hope that this was insightful and useful for you. Of course, you know, this is the kind of thing where if you do want to go deeper and you have the financial resources and you have the time to invest in yourself as well, the Godlike Master Initiation program that I have is going to touch on a lot of the topics that I talk about, and it'll be tailored and customized for you, of course, right? If you don't want to do that, or you can't really afford that, then the one-on-one sessions are going to be the next option, and then the community after that, because we do have the free option for the community now. However, if you want to access the calls and the classes in the community for the Regal Change Academy, you're going to have to make that pay, and there's going to be that paywall. Otherwise, I hope everybody stays blessed. Peace. Until next time.